evening, good afternoon. The June meeting of the Housing, Human Welfare Committee, Housing and Community Development is now called to order at 3:03. First item before us would be approval of the minutes for the meetings of March and the meeting of April. If I could obtain a second, we need to approve these minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the minutes for both the March 21st and April 18th meetings.
Second.
Move duly second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, so same sign. The ayes have it. And then we just got some house cleaning to do for the May meeting, of which I was not present, and the appointment of Ms. Brianna Margaret Becker to the Education Commission. Wasn't able to achieve a vote. However, prior to the meeting, I had no qualms that I was going to appoint her, so I asked Alderman Budge to go ahead and anything she needed to ask the committee go on, and Alderman Littmann subsequently could not get here, so we need to take a vote for the record to approve or disapprove her appointment to the Education Committee today. So I'll ask if we can.
So, Mr. Chair, as you remarked, Ms. Becker was here when we would have held our May meeting but did not have a quorum. I had the opportunity to interview her. She is presently the grants coordinator with in the DC public schools area, specializing in grants to charter schools for special education. She has a background as a teacher. She is a resident of Ward One and in fact lives down 2 doors down the street. And is eager to help with our Education Commission, and I thoroughly recommend her to the rest of the committee and to the council as a qualified candidate for the Education Commission.
Okay, was that
so moved?
That's a motion.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Motion and second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Okay, and we have one more appointment. The appointment 1717, and confirmation of Mr. Archie Trader as the Director of Recreation and Parks. Good evening, good afternoon, Mr. Trader. You can walk up to the table, and if you receive some questions, make sure that little green light's on in front of you is illuminated. And state your name and address for the record after we ask anything that we need to ask. So this is the confirmation for Mr. Archie Trader to go to the full council for confirmation as our Recreation and Parks Director. I've known Mr. Trader all my life. We grew up together, played ball together, schooled together, lifetime Annapolitan.
He doesn't look that old.
Well, he's a bit younger than myself, but I've known him from the courts. He was pretty good. He could play with the big boys. He had that skill level, so attached with him. But I look forward to confirming Mr. Trader today. Anybody from the committee have any questions they'd like to forward to Mr. Trader?
Would you like to start?
Sure. We've had the city manager has circulated to us and to the whole council your resume and your letter. Can you tell us a little bit of what your hopes are for the recreation department?
Yes, I can do that. My name is Archie Trader III, and at this time we will read the most recent background. We want to go through. I'd various aspects of recreation. I've worked with YMCA, I've worked at Oregon State University, with the National Youth Sports Program. I had a 4-year recreational supervisor position. So I have a very diverse array of a recreation experience. I've been in community recreation for some time. In fact, at 16 years old, I worked with the National Recreation Department as a playground instructor. So that's a little bit of my background. But one of the things I see in my vision in community recreation is to involve all aspects of the community, all demographics. The after-school program, I think, could be really augmented with the National Recreation Department. We have a very good after-school program for 25 years. I would like to see that replicated at the state board to involve other communities such as Woodside Garden, with the education being the core element in that after-school program. And also would like to see a lot more programs involving the disabled, the physically challenged, the mentally challenged. I think that we do a better job in the department in accessing that population. Also parks. I think we need to program our parks in places like Chicago and California. We do such a great job in creating programs that are park-based. And I think that we need to do a better job of that. Bringing people to our parks, not just structurally, but just being able to bring them in immediately, where they can just show up and have a barbecue. We need to make our parks more accessible. In fact, honestly, I visited the Children's Museum, and it was really the first time I took a tour of the entire grounds. And it was fascinating to me because, being an old Boy Scout, an old wildlife type person, young boy, I saw all the trails there, the Spot Creek project, removing that particular plant. It came to mind that Chesapeake Children's Museum ground needs to be really marketed. People need to know about it. We need to partner with the Recreation Department, we need to partner with the Chesapeake Youth Children's Museum, and let the public know what they're doing there.
Good. Great.
Hello, Mr. Trader. We don't go way back, but we have had a recent interaction that I found. I was very impressed with the way you handled our meeting the one time we did have a chance to meet. I've got a few questions, partly with my user of our Parks and Rec system in mind and what I've been serving. I'd like to start with big picture. What do you see as I heard your response to Alderman Budge in his questions, which is going to be similar to mine, but I'd like to hear your assessment of the various facilities and what your major concerns are, and frankly, your barriers to succeeding at accomplishing your goals.
Well, I think this is Stanton Center. I'm going to start with Stanton Center because, that's where I started at Stanton Center. I've been there for about 11 years as manager, recreation manager, and then I progressed to the facility manager, and now I have an opportunity to practice. One thing that I see at Stanton Center is that we just need more funding to really improve the structure of Stanton Center. Stanton Center is 111 years old. Stanton Center
All right, so before moving on from the Stanton Center, which I'd like to come back to, assuming that the city doesn't allocate through its budget more money, what other revenue streams do you see that you can pursue? Mm-hmm. Have you pursued corporate fundraising? I'm sorry, I couldn't tell whether you said have or have not. Okay. Mm-hmm. What about, why hasn't any corporate funding been sought since then? Or has it just not worked out? Speaking of what you just mentioned, has your previous position been filled? So, or are you still filling in 2 jobs right now? Okay. Right. So once you're confirmed, you'll be able to get out of serving 2 jobs and get yourself to just serving as director? That's good to hear. But as a director, not as, I'm forgetting, facility supervisor, was that your previous title? Facility manager, okay. So you'll have somebody as a facility manager for Stanton Center once you're confirmed? And you make a promotion for someone else? Okay. As you continue to fill 2 jobs then, how are you sure you're going to have the time to pursue these other corporate sponsorships and other administrative duties that you were alluding to? My I'll call it critique of the city not pursuing enough corporate sponsorships or other revenue streams isn't just to your department or to the Department of Recs, and I think it's a transportation issue. I think there's a lot of money and opportunities to make more money to survive off of other funding other than just the city coffers. So it's not personal to you or the department, but I think it's a prime opportunity for the facilities that you will be managing officially shortly. So moving on from the Stanton Center, what other barriers are you encountering and goals are you trying to accomplish?
Well, what we're trying to do, as I said, at the morning session, is to create more opportunity for a diverse population to come to the morning center and really enjoy what we have to offer. I think after-school program is extremely important for a lot of different populations, the low-income population, but also the between population, between age group. It's difficult age group program, no matter what type of resources you have. So what we're going to do at the Morning Center is to create that opportunity. We're going to give them a room, we're going to give them computers, we're going to give them space and time to come to the Morning Center and allow them to use the computers, do their homework, create activities for them. It'll be a little looser, not as structured, because that is the age group that we're dealing with, and in order to reach them, we have to let them flow.
Mr. Trader, excuse me, make sure that green light's on.
Okay.
We
It's
won't
on
ask
now.
you to do that all
Yes.
over again.
Okay, I thought it was on. It's an age group that is, once I said, like I said before, it's very difficult to actually program, but it's something that must be done because that's a very large population that's in the transition of their life. They're in the threshold of going, one way or another, and it's our job as a recreation department to give them an opportunity to come there and experience positive activities, events, and so that they can be productive citizens in the long run and do well in their education. Because I think most people understand that there's no recreation program, whether it's sports, athletic, or otherwise, without an education component. It's watered down. Today, you must have an educational component. In my day, all you needed was a ball, bat, and everything else. Education was not at the core. Today, education must be at the core, and that's what we stand for at the Pitt Moyer Center and the Recreation Department.
I assume in your profession there's some standard for how close do you need to live to a recreational facility to be able to say you have access to recreation? Is it a half mile? I assume there's some standard along those lines.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not familiar with that standard, but I can tell you this. If one can get there, the access to a recreational facility is based on the welcoming quality of the facility.
What I was trying to get at is I want to ask the question of what portion of our population has access to the city's recreation facilities, but I guess I was thinking we need to define what access means, and I would have thought there would be some definition.
Well, economics plays a part. The Pitt Moyer Center is a revenue-based facility. There's no question about that. We do not operate at a deficit there. Operationally, our cost recovery is 100% each fiscal year.
I thought it did operate deficit. It's at a surplus or break even?
We break even.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a surplus,
Okay.
I'm sure. So that what that does, it leaves room for scholarships.
Okay.
I don't know if that pertains to your, definition of access.
It's certainly part of it, but
Uh-huh.
I wonder if certain residents can get themselves to the Pitt Moyer or any of the other fields. If you want to play basketball, are there any of our citizens who just don't have access to a court?
Well, the movement in community management as it relates to the Annapolis Gardens, the Oberg courts, these basketball courts have been removed. And the reason they have been removed is because the basketball courts, and to be frank, has been deemed as places, quote unquote, crime and drug sales. So the management have come into places like Oberry Court, Annapolis Gardens, and have literally removed these courts. This puts the onus on Annapolis Recreation and Parks to create these venues at the Pitt Moyer Center so that, you know, they can play. We have an outdoor court. As a matter of fact, every Thursday I referee a teenage league, 10 to 12, 13 to 15 league at the Pitt Moyer Center. So when I was there today, they come there all the time and they play. They can walk there, they can catch the bus there. I see cars come there, they pull up, people get out the car, they play ball. And the beauty of it is that there's a diverse group. We have Latinos, we have African Americans, we have European Americans, so we have all kinds of age groups. You know, guys like me, my age, they're still out there trying to turn back the clock. You see all kinds of people there. So they have access there. To come inside, they would have to pay $8 to come inside for a one-day pass. So, you know, there's a lot of accessibility there. It's just a matter of getting there.
Going back to Pitt Moyer Rec Center, I'm going to try to ask this delicately. What opportunities do you see to improve the efficiency of your staff?
I think there's always room for growth. One of the most important things in recreation, because I think our department actually interfaces with the public more than any other department, police and fire notwithstanding, is that our ability to communicate must be improved. Face-to-face, verbally, over the phone, email, answering. In fact, at my last meeting on the agenda was just that we have to communicate immediately, as soon as we can. You know, no one should be able to call me and say, hey, Mr. Director, I just called your manager 4 times and I haven't gotten a return. I just emailed her several times, I haven't gotten a return. We must do a better job at that. And that's how we need to improve, because your operation and your programming is not going to improve unless the communication with the public and the people that you serve is not efficient.
I'm looking at Mr. Andrews because he knows I've been somewhat critical of that facility before your time, so don't take my comments personal by any stretch. I think they even predated your predecessor, frankly, but it does not feel very efficient there, or friendly, or warm as a customer, and I've been trying to be a more frequent customer, frankly, of that facility. So it's, I'm trying not to make it personal, but I could tell you I observe a lot, and it's not how I would want a business run or a government office run in terms of the friendliness and outreach from the front desk.
Okay, and in your opinion, if I may ask you a question, have you ever personally experienced unprofessionalism or disrespect from one of my staff people?
I wouldn't call it direct rudeness, but if I'm coming in and the person behind the desk is on her phone playing on Facebook or on the computer, and they're all gabbing because they're looking for a new house to rent, and they're all looking over her shoulder and completely ignoring me walking by. So I wouldn't say confrontational rudeness, but I would, as someone who as a taxpayer is paying their salaries, I'm not too pleased to see that they're using government time to look up their next house they want to rent, and they're all gabbing about it and not looking up and being friendly. So that's what I experience on variations of that on a regular basis.
And you should not experience that. They should be on point, you know, every minute that they're behind the desk. And I assure you...
You have a couple stars, by the way, so it's not uniform. You have a couple stars there.
Yes.
There's a few young ladies who are just fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to criticize the whole group and cast a net over everybody that way.
Well, thank you for saying that, but everybody has to get the message.
Yeah, so I listened to Alderman Budge and Alderman Littmann's questions, and I really, I'm glad you had this opportunity before we just blindly confirmed on the council, because I think that this will go a long way. Without you hearing the types of things that the folk that's running the city the opinions that they have of some things, I mean, I think it's going to do you a lot of good. Number one, the memberships for a large number of persons, and you alluded to it, are just cost prohibitive, quite frankly. There are tons of kids who can't afford the membership, or families can't afford the memberships. And whereas we try to find that delicate balance of how we want them to get off those street corners and come and use the facility, even the $8 cost per day gives some of them some handicaps. So I know I've been in consultation with Mr. Andrews. I haven't, and some of the people around, my colleagues on the council, that some kind of way, that $8 fee, we need to structure, whereas it can be a fee, like when I went to the YMCA on Northwest Street, every time I paid that daily fee, it went towards my membership. So, until I got there. So I think there are those who will pay that cost and come every day. If it's going towards their membership, every time they get $8, zoom, just because they want to go. And what really brought it to light was the 2-week vacation this winter, and I was coming down Forest Drive, and it was cold, and I saw no fewer than 9 to 10 kids with 2 basketballs going down Forest Drive. So I knew where they were going. You could not play basketball outside that day in that weather. So I knew where they were going, which meant each of them had their 8 bills. And it's that kind of thing. I'd like to see that go towards a daily membership, and you've got time to do that. The other issue that you touched on with Alderman Littmann was the necessity to run both of those buildings. And the Stanton Center can have its own set of problems, and nobody has to tell you that more than me. It can gobble up a lot of your time at any given minute. You've done a wonderful job over there since you got there after Mr. Turner. I really appreciate it. I watch you work. I watch you matriculate into the seat you're in right now, quite frankly. And I think that it hasn't always been easy. You know it hasn't always been easy, but you got some people skills that I think we can use citywide. You're in a larger seat, and we expect you to take the reins and come to the council and work with Mr. Andrews and do the things that we can help you with. Don't hold back. At the very least, ask us. If you got overwhelmed there, I think even the guy you think about going to full, I believe I had a conversation with him a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even know he was graduate college. He's the perfect type of person to let matriculate, move him to full. I'm sure we're talking one and the same, and I haven't even been over there in a month.
Right.
But I'm certain we're talking about one and the same. He's a good guy. And unbeknown to you, I did have a conversation with him, and he asked me about full-time positioning. So that's good. That's a great choice. That's a good start.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one other thing? I don't
Absolutely.
mean to interrupt you.
Sure.
I forgot to mention there's a pet project and a pet peeve related. The disposable water bottles is a pet peeve of mine. When your predecessor started, I showed him pictures and I gave him some information on the refillable water fountain that's installed on the left side of the main floor. My understanding it's been a huge success and has not been duplicated anywhere else in any other, not just Parks and Rec facility, but other city building. So cost money, I'm sure, and it's probably more of a public works. I don't know how that sort of thing, where the line, where that falls in line between you and public works. But if you believe that you know the water fountain I'm talking about, where you just put your water bottle and it refills from the top? So when you go into Pit Moyer, you immediately make a left and then a right outside the 2 bathrooms. Okay. There's a different style water fountain, and it allows you to refill a water bottle like that from the top without having to cram in from an angle because it comes to the top. There's a counter on it, so you could see it's gotten terrific use out of it. And I think it's very helpful to reduce our disposable water bottles, getting them out of the landfill, and I think it's promote good habits in general. So if you could get yourself familiar with that water fountain, ask around. If you come to the understanding that I had, that it's been very successful, please consider whether it would be appropriate to install that in other Rex buildings or Mr. Andrews' other city buildings as well. We gotta get Teresa to stop using those disposable water bottles, get her to have a bottle that she refills easily. That's right. But if we had a water fountain that made it easy to refill it, you'd be more likely to do it. Thank you.
There's summer school at the Stanton Center. I guess we'll find out from Mr. Andrews or Mr. Gerald where we are with the air conditioner. We certainly, that's the last thing we need to do is jeopardize that program all summer long for kids. And we definitely, and we don't want you in there in that blazing heat either, because those brick buildings hold heat just like they hold that air conditioner. So yeah, I'm glad. That's another blessing in disguise that you came here today, because without that we wouldn't have known that. So I'm glad you came here today. The tie-in with the Children's Museum and the Parks and Recreation, I think you're dead on. I think that's, being a Boy Scout myself, I enjoyed that nature park over there at in between yeah, it's Truxton Park and Truxton Park and the Children's Museum, Spar Creek. I guess they're doing a massive stormwater project there right now.
That's right.
That's correct. That's correct. Crossing Appleside School Field, up the road, across the sewage pipe to go to the swimming pool, the brand new swimming pool that this city had installed. Yeah, I know that well. I did that. I did do that. Right. Well, but yeah, I mean, I really look forward. I'm glad you're in the position. I think there's lots of growing to do. Gives you a larger stage than the Stanton Center, and based on what I've seen you do over there at the Stanton Center, I encourage you to ask questions and don't let any of your visions, don't be stymied by we broke and this, that. Ask some questions. Use your council members. A lot of us love recreation. So, and I don't have anything else. Alderman Budge. And Mr. Anything else you want to say? I'm going to ask for.
Yes, sir. I just want to once again thank you for the opportunity. The opportunity is only an opportunity to pay for it. And I feel that I'm prepared for this. And thank you for your suggestion. Thank you for your criticism. And I assure you that I will work on the success of the town. I will work on my staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always encouraging when you hear a leader be humble enough to realize that they need their staff around them to be successful. We all do, certainly. None of us can do any job by ourselves, and so to be humble enough to realize you need your support around you is always encouraging to hear.
And if I can entertain a motion.
Certainly, I move that the committee recommend the confirmation of Mr. Trader as Director of Recreation and Parks to the full council.
Gladly. Secondly.
Yes, sir. It's been motioned and duly recommended that we go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, same vote. The ayes have it. Mr. Trader, we will go to the full council. And that I think is it Monday night. You'll be back before us, and welcome. I don't think we've ever gone out of this committee to the full council with a vote that was denied. So you'd certainly be a first, but
Don't even go there.
if it happens.
Let's not go there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Trader. Thanks for coming down.
Good luck to you.
The next item is general discussion, ID-196-17, Citizen Participation Plan. Ms. Wellman, is there?
Did everybody get a chance to read it? Basically, the purpose for the revision was all communities receiving community development block grant have to put together the new fair housing assessment. And HUD's instructing us that with that new fair housing assessment, we have to indicate how we're going to put that forward to the public. So we had to revise our citizen participation plan. The assessment for us will be due, and if we're still getting CDBG, will be due. It's not due until 2020, fiscal year 2020, but we've joined a regional group of counties and cities around the Baltimore area to put together a regional fair housing assessment. So it'll be due to HUD 2019. So the reason that it's here is it's going to have to be adopted by the City Council. So it needs to be approved by committee before it goes to the City Council. This plan is a lot more extensive than our previous plan. It's a lot more specific in terms of what constitutes a substantial amendment versus a minor amendment. We didn't have that delineation before, and it covers every single plan very specifically. So it tightens up our requirements. Did anybody have any questions about it?
I don't. I was at the planning meeting on Thursday, and as long as it don't get us there, it's like 400 people in this chamber.
I was there too.
So yeah, I mean it's better to have a plan than
Well, it's a
wing it.
requirement.
Yes, yes.
But
But I don't have any specifics to the plan.
did
Alderman
anybody else
Budge.
have any questions or issues with it, or needed anything defined more before you vote on it to recommend it to the City Council?
No, I think, this is the citizen participation plan, which is about how you engage citizens in the conversation. And I think the plan does a good job of describing how you bring people in, how you address complaints, how you address concerns and solicit comments. So I'm happy to recommend it.
Anything?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I also, I don't have anything to say about it. I think it does. It goes to the point, citizen engagement, and our city, they tend to want a piece of action.
Yes,
so,
they like to engage.
Yes. So, if I can get a recommendation.
So I move that we recommend this draft citizen participation plan to the full council.
Second.
Been moved and second favorably to take the plan to the full council for ratification.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You want to take the vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Alderman. Okay, and the last item we have is ID-195-117, Community Development Block Grant Action Plan Draft 218.
Just wanted to mention that, as you know, the projects went to City Council last night. Unfortunately, because there wasn't a quorum at the last Housing and Community Development Committee meeting, you didn't actually have an opportunity to approve the entire plan. So the council approved the projects, but the committee should approve the entire plan. So,
Okay.
putting that forth again.
Okay, so we'll do that. Yeah, it's another house cleaning item. And actually, we did have a quorum because my surgery was scheduled and then something else came up. So we didn't get that quorum, but we can do that right now. We'll give you your 3 votes needed. If I could obtain.
Does anybody have any questions on it or anything? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move for recommendation to the full council of the Community Development Block Grant Action Plan 2018.
Second.
All in favor of approving this plan? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Ms. Wellman.
I did have a couple housekeeping, just a couple little.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
things. We now have a nuclear housing brochure in Spanish, in English. We
Okay.
worked with the Hispanic liaison to get it translated, so they're all done and printed and they're being distributed. I also asked the mayor's office to do a citation for Jonette Hahn. So it wasn't done in time for me to have it at the last meeting. She works during the day, so I'm just going to mail it to her, but I just wanted to let you know that that's done.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
And those are fair housing plans?
Brochures that tell people what their rights are.
Rights, the law of the land for here in
Yes.
Annapolis. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so and who
interesting to know.
Who
Yeah.
the complaints go to.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that the public knows that that's available now in English and Spanish.
Right, I think I think our Hispanic liaison's has come over and gotten some, and we've been giving them out. I'm going to leave a few more here. It's also up to the Human Relations Commission, because that comes under their auspices to promote these and get them out, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there any more business? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move for adjournment.
Second.
A move for adjournment. It's been had and probably second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.